In this installment, we're going to be going down to the conference championships. This is going to be the breakdown of the DraftKings slate. We have 4 teams left. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Chef D, and I'm here to give you the winning ingredients for our conference championship round for the NFL playoffs. We're going to be deep diving into this DraftKings slate. We have 2 games left. This is the final 4, and this is to choose who's going to go to the Super Bowl. So highly anticipated weekend here. I'm going to give you this DraftKings video, and then I'm going to give you my best bets video. That's going to be later in the week for you guys to enjoy. All right, so before I deep dive into this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MetsNetChetsD. Don't forget about that TikTok at Chef_D91. And don't forget about that Patreon. We are currently at the homepage of the YouTube channel at 1.52 thousand subscribers. Guys, if you're currently subscribed, continue to like and comment on the videos so we can bring out and really boost up that YouTube algorithm so we can get to a broader audience. And guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, just smash that subscribe button right now. Let's get into this slate. Just kick things off. We're going to start at the top with the quarterback position here. Lamar Jackson at 7,700. And he is going to be worth the price here, okay? We got back-to-back games against Miami and against Houston. 39 fantasy points in both games. This man is putting together a masterpiece. He finished the season strong, and now he's bringing it over to the playoffs. He did not miss a beat, taking a pretty much what it is, almost 3 weeks off. He did not miss a beat at all. You saw the little bit of struggles in the first half, and then they got serious, turned things on. Lamar Jackson could be on a stretch run here that could be historical. All right, so I get it. It's Kansas City Chiefs defense. They are very, very hampered, and we saw what Josh Allen was able to do against them. He was able to get 2 rushing touchdowns and have a field day as well. So this doesn't bode well for them, especially with all the numerous injuries that they have on that Kansas City Chiefs defense, with Willie Gay, with Edwards, who's in concussion protocol, with Joe Tooney. So with Derek Nandi, who's their nose tackle, there's a lot of issues here for the KC's defense, and they're going to have their hands full going up against Lamar Jackson, who can run and throw the football. There's a plethora of weapons as well, and if they add Mark Andrews, you're in a world of hurt for the Kansas City Chiefs, all right? So Lamar Jackson is going to be one of our top quarterback plays for this conference championship slate. Next on the list will be Patrick Mahomes for the Kansas City Chiefs. He has a tough matchup here going up against the Baltimore Ravens defense, who is pretty much number 1 overall. They won a triple crown this season, so top scoring defense, top overall defense, period, across the board. Patrick Mahomes should have had a better game against those Buffalo Bills, who had a hampered defense. Only got 18 fantasy points there. So it was one of the higher scoring games from the Chiefs that we haven't seen in recent memory. And you also got a good game from Travis Kelce, though. That was a positive to see both of those guys get back going. But the issue still remains with the wide receiver core, especially for the Kansas City Chiefs going up against this Baltimore Ravens defense. All right, so the way that they can win is not going to be going up against the pass. Is going to be trying to run the football on the Baltimore Ravens, who did a pretty good job against the Houston Texans. But if the Chiefs are going to have a chance to win this game, they're going to need to run that football. So I'm going to bump down Patrick Mahomes in this one because I don't see this as an environment where it should lend to a lot of Patrick Mahomes points, especially going up against this defense. We're going to see about that. If they can go in a back and forth type manner, maybe the Baltimore defense comes out a little bit slow and then gets cooking. But just matchup alone, wide receiver and weapons, if they just get their hand on Kelce, they have a pretty good shot to limit Patrick Mahomes. And paying this price at $6,900, I'd rather go into this Detroit and San Francisco game, which has some upside for a lot of points. All right. Next quarterback we're going to be looking at, this one who has the best matchup on the board. That is Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy did not play well against the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers have been playing stronger defense as of late. Despite the fact that they were horrible to be in the middle of the season, Green Bay Packers have turned things up with Jair Alexander coming back and being healthy, and Brock Purdy is in a spot where he can exploit this defense here in the Detroit Lions. This is why we like Baker Mayfield, and our previous lineup for divisional round did cash. So just so you guys can see really quick, we did well on the divisional round breakdown of our lineup, and this is what I submitted. And it cashed for $5. I just put it in a little random tournament just to see how it does. But it was a very key that I told you guys to pay attention, try to get the lower owned quarterback in a very good spot. And that just happened to be Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield came through with 28 fantasy points. We made sure we secured Christian McCaffrey, who I loved in that video. He had 31 fantasy points. I expected a better day out of Gus Edwards, but that's fine because we came right back. I told you Mike Evans was my favorite wide receiver. I thought Zay Flowers would have a better game. Khalil Shakur is pretty much that number one wide receiver because Diggs has not showed up in 2 months. So that was a solid play. Isaiah likely got in the end zone. And Kincaid has been pretty solid since taking over that tight end position. So that's why we cashed. We leaned on Mayfield, McCaffrey, and Evans, and Shakir, and it brought us into the cash. All right. So it's valuable information you're getting in these videos, and I'm trying to lead you guys in the right directions, all right? So Brock Purdy is a very good play for this conference championship slate. So I like him at $6,400 if you want to save salary. And even Jared Goff. Jared Goff going up against, yes, I get it. This is a road game for the Detroit Lions. They have a ton of weapons and upside, which in this game I think can be a more of a back and forth. We saw Jordan Love have some positive plays. I think Jared Goff in this offense that's highly powered can get things going. And I feel like this game here is going to be the back and forth high scoring environment between Detroit and the San Francisco 49ers. So if they get a bad Brock Purdy game, which he didn't look good against Green Bay, then it leaves the door open for Detroit, and Detroit will put on pressure and run that score up. All right, let's move on to the running backs. On to that running back position, and we have Christian McCaffrey at the top. Now, for him to pay off, it has to be another smash spot for him. He's going to have to put up another 30-point performance. The tough thing is, this is the worst matchups he's had in a while. All right, the strength of the Detroit Lions is stopping the run. All right, but the benefit of McCaffrey is he's a dual threat guy, and he's going to get a lot of touches in the receiving game. Okay, so we're hoping that he gets utilized at a high clip, especially in the receiving game. We can't afford a week 17 performance, 13 fantasy points, or maybe even a week 14 where he only had 19 fantasy points. It has to be 20 plus. At minimum for Christian McCaffrey. You're paying $2,500 more, all right, to go to McCaffrey than anyone else. So it is essential for him to go off. But you can get creative and go another route, all right? Just letting you guys know right now, all right? This is the worst matchup on the board. If we're looking at fantasy points allowed to opposing running backs, the Detroit Lions are down here, second overall, 12th in the red zone, giving up only 51 rushing yards and 3.1 yards per carry. All right, so this is not a good matchup for Christian McCaffrey, but he is the main guy, especially if there's no Deebo Samuel as well. All right, so I'm putting that on the table so you guys understand. All right, next we have Isaiah Pacheco, the next highest guy at $6,500. This is the way the Kansas City Chiefs are going to have an avenue to get to have this game close and even win the game. They need Isaiah Pacheco to have all-time performance. All right, they're going to need 100 yards plus. They lean on him a lot. He usually gets in the end zone as well. If you want consistency, double-digit fantasy points, you can go towards Isaiah Pacheco. We've seen a decrease in receiving work. So that's maybe a little bit concerning. We'll see how that goes. This is going to be a tougher matchup there where maybe Patrick Mahomes in more pressure situations, and he's going to need to dump off that football to Pacheco. So there is upside for Pacheco at this current salary. Next, Next running back we can't consider. You got the tandem of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Got the smash mouth guy and David Montgomery, who's going to get you around 8 to 10 fantasy points. If he gets in the end zone, then you're looking at 15. So if you want to set yourself apart from everyone else, Jahmyr Gibbs is the guy. If you want to have just a glue guy, that's David Montgomery, but he needs to get in the end zone for him to pay off. Okay, that's going to be the question mark. So if you want explosive plays, hey, let's go to Jahmyr Gibbs at 6,400. I think he's going to have to be huge in this game because he's an X factor for the Detroit Lions to set themselves apart from the 49ers defense because he creates mismatches. So Jahmyr Gibbs at 6,400 is a love for this matchup here. We're going to take down Christian McCaffrey. We're going to put Jahmyr Gibbs in here because I want to make sure he stays in this lineup. I like him in this game environment. When you got a strong defense, you need an X factors. Who has the speed? Who has the shiftiness? That's Jahmyr Gibbs. All right. Despite the fact that the San Francisco 49ers are a good run defense. All right. Next, Gus Edwards usually is the main guy, but they're mixing in both of these guys. So you're going to have a good game from Lamar rushing the football just because he can create after the play breaks down. But what I've seen from Baltimore, they're running all three of these guys. So trying to choose the Baltimore running back is going to be tough. They're running Edwards. They're running Hill. As you can see, he's going to be the pass catching guy. We saw 2 catches from him. We saw 13 rushes from Justice Hill. So he provides some upside. And they're even running Dalvin Cook. All right. Dalvin Cook was able to get 8 rushes as well. So they're going to hit you with 3 guys. All right. For the Baltimore, pretty much 4. You got to deal with Lamar, Edwards, Hill, and Cook. That's crazy because they're all different type of backs, and it's just a dangerous combination that the Baltimore Ravens are putting all together. Even if one goes down, they have someone else. So trying to choose one of these guys is going to be very tough. If I had to choose, the goal line guy is going to be Edwards. All right, so if they get in this smash mouth type of game, Edwards can come through for you at 5,500. Just letting you guys know right now. And if we're punting running back, you could be sneaky with Dalvin Cook. He can get a late touchdown because he's getting work. All right, they're not shying away from this run game, and Lamar is still going to throw. So they got this well-oiled machine going on right now, and it's going to be tough for KC to stop them. And that's how far I would go. There's not many options at the running back, so it's going to be. You're going to have to get creative. You might have to use one of these backup running backs if you do not go with the top guys, all right? And that's going to set yourself apart. If you look at a Justice Hill or a Cook or a Gibbs, okay? A lot of people are just going to go McCaffrey and even Pacheco, but you got to look a little bit lower. You might have an opportunity here to pay off, okay? Let's move on to the wide receivers. Now on to the wide receivers here. We're going to go group by group with the teams, and we're going to start off in this Detroit Lions and San Francisco game. This is where I like the wide receivers the most in this game environment here. With the Detroit Lions, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, okay? This was one of the top-tier wide receivers in the league. Top 3 right next to CeeDee Lamb. Amon-Ra St. Brown has been an absolute beast this season, and I love him in this slate here. This is the leader and captain of that team for the Detroit Lions, and they're going to lean on him in this game against San Francisco 49ers. I understand this is a tough matchup, but the weakness of the San Francisco 49ers is going to be is the passing game, okay? They're pretty stout stopping the run. You're going to have to get the ball out of Jared Goff's hands quick and get into the playmakers, and that's Amon-Ra St. Brown at 7,900. Love him in this slate. The next guy we can't consider for the Detroit Lions is Josh Reynolds. All right, he left that game and came back. Let's see. Yeah, Josh Reynolds is the number 2 wide receiver, the veteran type of guy, and he's come on in the past 2 games against the Rams and the Buccaneers. He got in the end zone against the Buccaneers, and if you want to punt that wide receiver spot, you can definitely go towards Josh Reynolds in this game, someone that has been solid this season and even last year in opportunities where Amon-Ra St. Brown has been out. You've seen Josh Reynolds come through. 17 fantasy points in week 5. 23 against Seattle, 12 against KC. So you see the upside with Josh Reynolds, short-handed guy. veteran that you need in your lineup, and has a great connection with Jared Goff from the LA Rams as well. So we can go towards him. If you want the explosive guy, if you want to punt that wide receiver spot fully, Jameson Williams is the deep guy. All right. If you're willing to take that risk, Jameson Williams is the Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Okay. He's the Rashad Bateman. All right. He's in that elk. So if you want to go below 4K and you think there's a big play that can happen against this defense, then Jameson Williams is going to be your guy. All right. So I love the Detroit wide receivers, and now we're going to talk about the San Francisco wide receivers now. And the big major injury here is Deebo Samuel. He left that game against Green Bay. He has a shoulder issue. You have to monitor news if he's going to play. So if he plays, then you can go to the well. They're going to use Deebo Samuel like they usually do. They're going to have screens for him. They're going to rush the football with him, and he should be able to get there against this Detroit poor secondary. All right, but if he is out, so we'll put Deebo in here, because if he's in, then we're going to play him. If not, then Brandon Ayuk becomes the number one, and he has to go off. All right, Brandon Ayuk, if he is the number one wide receiver with no Deebo Samuel, then Brandon Ayuk will be the guy we're going to lean towards. Under 7K, has some big upside. 27 against Washington, 20 against Baltimore, 20 against Seattle, 29 against Tampa Bay. We got huge monster games coming from Brandon Ayuk, and I like him in this game, depending on who's in or out. But if he isn't, and if Deebo is not, isn't, then I still like Brandon Ayuk in this game environment, okay? Because of that Detroit Lions secondary, we saw what Mike Evans was able to do, and Brandon Ayuk could do very similar things, all right? So if you want to go with a double stack here, you definitely can with San Francisco. Bring it back with some Detroit Lions guys. It's going to be a very interesting game. Now, for that KC and Baltimore matchup, we're going to be looking at the wide receivers first for Baltimore. That we have Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham, Nelson Aguilar, and Rashad Bateman. Zay Flowers at 5,800. All right. We want news on Mark Andrews. We'll get to the tight ends a little bit later. But Zay Flowers is that number one wide receiver. So we saw back-to-back games against San Francisco and Miami where he was very, very explosive. A little bit of a downturn against Houston, but that was more because they went to the running game more. They were utilizing Lamar Jackson and all of their plethora of running backs. Okay, so if it's an environment where they need to throw the ball a little bit more, Zay Flowers is going to be the guy, and he's a big X factor. Has speed, shiftiness, can create any catch and take it all the way to the house. So if you want to get in that mid-range of wide receivers, Zay Flowers coming off a poor performance could be your guy. All right, Odell Beckham, this is a big game environment here. He tends to show up in big games, so Odell Beckham could be a super sleeper at 4,400. I get it, he only had one catch, but he can surprise you and come out of nowhere, similar to a Jameson Williams, where he can have a big game. 19 against the Rams, 18 against Cincinnati, 15 against Seattle. All right, so this is a spot where Odell Beckham, either this game here, where he can set himself apart at that price at 4,400. And then you got you got one veteran here, Nelson Aguilar, who has two touchdowns in the last 4 weeks. That's a positive sign. He's not going to get a lot of targets. He's going to have to come through on key situations, but he needs to get in the end zone for him to pay off. And then Rashad Bateman, if you're really punting, is the deep threat here as well. There is some upside here. It's sad to see Rashad Bateman not play to his full potential. But if you're really getting desperate or you want to change things up, the sleeper wide receivers for the Ravens are Bateman and Aguilar. Just letting you guys know. Now, for the Kansas City Chiefs, there aren't many wide receivers. All right, you play the guy you want to trust is Rashee Rice. But we're talking about a number one wide receiver against the secondary of the Baltimore Ravens. We already saw Nico Collins did not have a good game. He did not have a good game. And now you're putting rookie Rashee Rice in this environment that's going to be very, very tough, especially if Marlon Humphrey comes back from his injury. All right, so Rashee Rice, we would love to go back to the well here, but this is going to be a tough matchup for Rashee Rice. All right, so it might be a secondary guy that could stand up and show out for the Kansas City Chiefs. So you got Justin Watson here, only one target for $3,300, and then you have MVS. MVS finally showed up just a little bit. He only had 8.2 fantasy points for the Chiefs, but this is pretty much his best game all year. MVS has been horrible. Justin Watson is hard to trust. It's really skimp trying to go with a Kansas City Chief. If it's not Pacheco or Rashee Rice or Kelsey, is ugly. So I would stay away from these guys. If you want to go with someone, I would throw a dart on MVS if you can get it. No, I would even do that. I would throw a dart on Justin Watson. I can't trust the Chief if it's not those three guys. It's really hard for me to I don't want to trust the Chief. And that's what we've seen all season long. They have no one they can lean on. You can go with Rashee Rice because he's going to have to do it. If you want to choose a Chief, it's Rashee Rice, and I'm staying away from everyone else. All right. So let's move on to the tight ends. Now, with the tight ends, last but not least here, the guy you just got to lock in, and this is the only weapon that Mahomes has pretty much, is Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is back. This is the playoffs, and we've seen Kelce become Kelce yet again. 5 for 75 and 2 touchdowns, 24 fantasy points from Travis Kelce in his previous game against the Buffalo Bills. And if they have a shot, it's Pacheco and Kelce. Like I said, Pacheco, Kelce, and Rashee Rice. These are the guys you need to lean on. We're going to play Travis Kelce at 6,600. You could get creative and go with 2 tight ends. This could be a slate to definitely do that. In some scenarios, like I showed you, there's not many options on the KC. Maybe if you don't like the 3rd or 4th wide receivers on some of these offenses, you could go double tight end. And there's some juicy tight ends here. Sam Laporta against the San Francisco 49ers. He's a guy that's going to get consistent targets. All right, he got through the game. Is he healthy? We're going to make sure he's okay with the knee issue. All right, stay to the news on Sam Laporta because they did sign Zach Ertz. Is Zach Ertz even in? Yes, he is. All right, so Zach Ertz is in the player pool. They signed Zach Ertz to the practice squad. You're going to wait and see if they're going to move him up, okay? So if we're reading it right now, Ertz, who went unclaimed on waivers after being cut loose by the Arizona in late November, will begin on the Lions practice squad, but could have a chance to get up to speed with the team and contribute in the NFC Championship game, okay? It was because Brock Wright, all right, there you go. Brock Wright suffered a fracture in the game. So this is why they signed Zach Ertz. All right, Zach Ertz is the number 2 tight end. So we don't need to worry about Laporta. Laporta is the number 1 guy, okay? Laporta is going to be fine. He's been playing through the knee issue. He has that brace. And this guy has been phenomenal this season. And he put up another good performance against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And now he has a tougher matchup here against San Francisco. But he's just a big X factor, what he can do in his route running ability. All right. So now we're going to fantasy points allowed to opposing tight ends. And that best matchup is the San Francisco 49ers, like I just spoke to you about. As you can see, 22nd overall, 12th in the red zone. So they're going to be giving up yards. This is why we like Sam Laporta at 5,400. If you can get in the end zone, you're looking at a very good spot for Sam Laporta there. All right, George Kittle is next on the menu. And if Deebo Samuel's out, you're going to see a lot of targets to George Kittle. All right, so that's a correct, an instant correlation. If Deebo's out, you're going to play George Kittle. He becomes a smash play. Almost you have to play George Kittle if Deebo Samuel's out. So stick to the news. As you saw, Deebo left, and then you saw the increase to Kittle, 4 for 81 and a touchdown. So definitely stick towards that. We're going to take out Zay Flowers and make sure we put Kittle in here, so you guys are aware of that switcheroo right there, okay? And then behind them, you have the tandem of tight ends for Baltimore. Mark Andrews, if he comes back, that's going to be a tough spot. We don't know how much they're going to utilize him because Isaiah Likely has been playing phenomenal. All right, if Mark Andrews out again, then you can play Isaiah Likely. He's getting a touchdown almost every single game. All right, if you're looking at this right now, in the past 5 weeks, he has 5 touchdowns. Isaiah Likely has been very good and been a consistent threat and option for Lamar Jackson in this last couple weeks. These last 5 weeks has been phenomenal. So Isaiah Likely is another guy. So there's definitely room here to go double tight end because these guys are performing. They're performing better than some of these wide receiver 3s and wide receiver 4s. I would highly recommend a lineup of double tight end. Okay, just letting you guys know right now. Now for the defenses we're going to go towards in this lineup build is going to be the Ravens at 3,200. And you could go towards the Lions. If the Lions could create some turnovers for Brock Purdy, we did not see a good Brock Purdy game in the previous one. So sneaky Lions defense. And if you want to go with the traditional one, I'm just going right in the middle right there with 3,200 Baltimore Ravens. So thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll be back with another video very soon. All right. Peace out, guys.